Hey, what's up everybody? Alright, two things I wanted to talk about in this video. And the first one is refrigerators. Now, more experienced truck drivers will probably already know this shit, but people coming in, people new to trucking, it's kind of an important thing, And I don't think anybody ever really thinks that much about it, because I know when I was starting out, I just kind of, I guess, assumed that, the trucks came with built-in refrigerators. It was in the truck already. It is built in, But, then they actually do have refrigerators that can be built into that part right there. They go in, and they're actual real refrigerators that run on inverters and shit like that. But what it is it's different per company, right? Like some companies will actually get the trucks with the fridges installed. Some companies but they buy their trucks with more options, right? A company like this, and certain other companies, they don't buy their trucks optioned out. And most companies don't have the fridges built in anyway. Even if they do have an inverter built in, you still got to put in your own fridge. Now, the actual refrigerators, they have the compressor and the refrigerant and stuff like that. The real refrigerators require an inverter, a powerful inverter, like something probably at least 1,000 to 1,500. If you've got a truck with a real refrigerator, then you're probably got a microwave too. You probably have 1,500 to 3,000 watt inverter in it, and that's something that's going to have to be hardwired to the battery, right? That's not something you could plug into the cigarette lighter outlet, right? Well, Western Express doesn't allow you to put an inverter, a hardwired inverter in. I asked why, and according to them, they said that they did a trial run on hardwired inverters, and they set a couple of trucks on fire. Now, I was like, oh, okay, I didn't really think about it, but it's like, there's a lot of trucks on the road that have inverters in them. Either you used a cheap inverter, you use cheap wiring and components, they probably undersized the wire, and they probably did a shitty installation. Those things will cause fires. So I don't see why we have to suffer because their shitty mechanics fucked up, but that's beyond the fucking point. Basically, if you drive for Western Express, you can't have a hardwired inverter. You can only use inverters that will plug into the cigarette outlets. Now, there's two on this truck. There's one little tiny small one that the company put in when they put in the TV and the direct TV. They got a little 150 watter that'll run those two, right? I have a second one that's a 300 watt that runs my Xbox, but it also provides an outlet for other shit, like charge my laptop, charge my drill battery, stuff like that, right? And it's back there behind the wall. But that 300 watt inverter is not enough to run like a real fridge. It's enough to run my Xbox and some other peripheral bullshit. It's 300 watts. I wouldn't recommend running anything bigger, any inverter bigger than 300 watts off these cigarette outlets. Like 400, 500, 1,000, I think it's too much for them. You're welcome to try, but I don't think it's going to work. I think you're going to spend the money and you're going to keep popping fuses all the time. So the way to get around that when you need to refrigerate your food is to get a thermoelectric cooler, right? Igloo makes them, which is the kind that I have. Coleman makes them as well. I believe they're about of the same quality. What they, it's something to the effect of, it's a heat exchanger. There's a fan on the top, and it runs air past a heat sink and then out the back, and then it also circulates air on the inside. And I don't know all the science behind it, but what it does is it keeps the air inside the cooler 40 or so degrees cooler than the ambient temperature. So if you keep it like a comfortable 75 in the truck, you're looking at about 35 degrees inside the fridge. Even if it's about 80, you're still looking at about 40 degrees in the fridge, which is pretty normal. That's about what you would refrigerate your shit at, 35 to 40 at home. Key is you can't let your truck get too hot in the summertime. So, I mean, even if you want to save fuel and be like, yeah, I'm getting good mile per gallon average. If you cut the AC off in here, you know, and you let it get up to 100 fucking degrees, it's 60 degrees inside there. Your food's going to start getting warm, you know? Milk, yogurt, cheese, lunch meat, drinks, things like that, you know? Anything that, whatever you eat that you want to keep cold, right? Now, I really like my Igloo. I think it's a little bit better than the Coleman just because the Coleman, the heat exchanger sticks off of the top. So you get this big mound that you got to deal with. On the Igloo, it's recessed inside the cooler. So you get a little bit less room inside the cooler, but it's also, that little opening you see right there, it just barely fits in and out of that opening. Right, and it also sits. It's sitting out right now because I just ate a little while ago, and it will sit back down inside there so it doesn't fly out when you're driving. Right now, you can only get about, from what I've heard, about a year out of these thermoelectric coolers before they just take a shit on you and they don't work anymore, and you got to replace it. It is what it is. I mean, this was a $100 cooler. If I can get, I've had it for about 7 or 8 months. If I can get a year out of this cooler, I'll pretty much have gotten my money's worth out of it. But I ran into a problem not too long ago. This actually happened maybe 2 weeks or so before I went on home time for a week. It happened with my last trainee, I think. The cord which is a fused cord, has a fuse in the end of it, actually burned out. It melted and stopped working, right? Because there's actually an outlet, a 12-volt cigarette outlet, down in the bottom behind the fridge for a fridge. You know what I mean? And so at the truck stops, they sell a Road Pro version, which Road Pro is the company that makes a lot of the electrical components and shit that you'll buy at a truck stop. Insanely fucking overpriced, and it's fairly low quality, but that's truck stop shit for you, you know? You can't, the best shit you can get, the cheapest is off of Amazon, but you gotta have it shipped somewhere. So anyways, I bought a replacement cord, a Road Pro replacement cord. They sell them at most truck stops. And, threw that in and plugged it in, and it was good for a little while, and then it burned out and melted. So I bought another one, and it did the same thing. And then at this point, it's popping fuses. I had to keep changing out 20-amp blade fuses behind the glove box. I bought, I think, 3 or 4 fucking cords at like $16 a pop. So, I mean, 3 to 4 cords, you're looking at almost $50 to $65 in cords, And I was like, God, what the hell? I even tried putting a smaller fuse in the end of the cord to see if maybe that would do it. I come to figure out that it's actually that fucking outlet that's down in there doesn't have a good connection. And it keeps, especially when you're driving, there's vibrations like crazy. It keeps gaining and losing connection. It gets really, really fucking hot because of that resistance, and it melts the end of the cord to the point where it's just melted plastic. In fact, if you go into Pilot Flying J or a truck stop to get one of these replacement cords, there'll be 3 or 4 hanging on the shelf, right? Take them off the shelf and actually look at the end that goes in the outlet. You will find other ones that are already fucking melted that people have brought in and returned. In fact, I bought one, and out of 4 that were on the shelf, the other 3 were already the ends had melted on them. This was the one I bought was the only one that hadn't been melted yet. So apparently, I'm getting the sense that this is an ongoing problem. People are buying these cords at $16 a pop and plugging them in, and it melts, and they take it back, get their damn money back. And, I was thinking it was the cords too. But it really, in all reality, it's actually that outlet down in there. The outlet's just no good anymore. It ran the cooler no problem for like the 6, 7, 8 months I've had the cooler, and then less than a month ago, the outlet took a shit. Now, you could change out the outlet, but, then you're going to wear out that one down there again, and it's up to you. The way, there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 outlets in the entire truck. 2 up front, 1 up there that runs the TV and stuff like that. They put in a little inverter up there, and it runs the TV. 1 down there, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 2 down at the bottom of the bunk. Not quite sure what they're for, but I run one inverter off of them, then I have an open one, and then there's one back here in the sleeper that I charge my phone from and stuff like that. So what I'm having to do is actually run the Igloo off of one of the auxiliary outlets down below the bunk, because it has a good connection. It just doesn't have a good connection behind there. So I wanted to put that out there, just so you know, or at the very least, anybody else running a Freightliner or even an International, because the Internationals, the refrigerator is down on the floor in a cubby hole, but there's another outlet back there on the floor that does the same thing. So if you're having that problem in International or Freightliner or any other truck, you keep going through these cords and you're spending all this money, it's getting to the point where I was thinking I'm gonna have to buy a new fridge. It's a $100 Igloo. I was like, damn, I've only spent $60 in cords. Could have just bought a new fridge pretty soon. But that's what the problem is. It's that outlet. Now, if you want to try to get them to change out the outlet at the shop or swap it with another one down below, because they're just plug and play, you know, it's up to you. I'm just afraid if I swap the outlets and I put one down there, it's going to wear that one out too. So the cord is like 10 feet long anyway, so I just plug it in down there and whatever. So, you know, it may not seem like it's that big of a deal. It's like, man, you know, trivial shit. But, I mean, that's how you keep your food cold, you know? I mean, if you want to be able to have cold drinks, and I like to eat sandwiches, and I eat sandwiches for lunch and cereal for breakfast, you know? And that's, you know, I have to keep my milk and my lunch meat and my cheese in there, so that's half the day's meals. All my dry stuff is up there in the top, you know, dinners and snacks and shit like that. But, you know, if I want to be able to keep milk and cheese and stuff like that, you know, that's a big deal. That's breakfast and lunch. There's no breakfast and lunch anymore. You don't have something to keep them cool, you know. You could go old school like some of these dudes do, and they run a regular cooler with ice in it, and they just keep it stocked with ice, and then you'll see them out at the truck stop at the fuel island they'll open the passenger door and pop the plug and let all the water drain out onto the ground. You know, I mean, it can work, but you're buying ice all the time. You figure you're buying probably I would think you're buying one bag of ice a day, at least. I'm thinking you're one bag of ice a day. I mean, let's say it's about $2 a day. I mean, that's $60 in a month. You know, in this by 2 months, it's $120 you done spent on ice. Could have just bought an electric cooler. Just, you know, you've been done with it. You know, I've had this thing for 7-8 months. You know, if I've been buying ice, it's about $60 a month. I mean, you're in the hundreds of dollars you done spent on ice. Plus, you got the big mess, you know, the water and all that shit. Just get an electric cooler and just, you know, be done with it. So it's, you know, that cooler is an important thing when it comes to eating out on the road. I wouldn't drive a truck without one. Some form of refrigerator or electric cooler. It's too expensive it pays for itself in the food, the money you save from not eating truck stop food all the time. You know, truck stop food, I mean, it's expensive as shit, but it's terrible for you too. You know, even if you're just you're not eating the McDonald's and the Wendy's and the Arby's, which, you know, no disrespect to Arby's, because I fucking love Arby's, but, you know, then you got the roller grill hot dogs and the nachos and the Cinnabon and all that shit. You know, you get fat out here, man, real fucking easy. That fridge will help you, so I recommend it. So I hope that answers any questions anyone has about the fridges, or, you know, at least let anybody know that maybe he's coming to Western or is a new driver. You know, maybe even if you're looking at another company, maybe you should ask the recruiter or whatever if the trucks come equipped with a fridge. You know, can you run an inverter? Can you run a hardwired inverter? A lot of companies do that. There's a lot of companies that, especially the ones that run APUs in their truck, they'll already have an inverter installed. There's other companies that if you get your own inverter, their shop will install it free of charge, but they have to have one of their own mechanics install it. You know, different companies, different policies. This one, you know, I just explained to you. So heads up to anybody that thinks that they're going to be running a fridge and a microwave and all that kind of... I'd love to have a microwave in here, but I just can't... You know, I mean, you could try to break the rules and hardwire your own shit first time you go to the yard. I mean, first time you go to the yard, I want to say it's not something they'd fire you over, but possibly they could terminate you for it. So, you know, you go up in the yard, and that kind of installation is not something you want to take on and off every time you go to the yard. Trust me, I even thought about it. I thought about just having like a quick connect, and, you know, and I pull it off every time I go to the yard. It's just there's too much involved because the battery box is under the cab itself, and there's actually the cab is suspended. That's why, you know, it's elevated off of the frame, you know, shock absorption, right? So here's the battery box, here's a cushion of air, and here's the cab. So you would actually have to do a semi-professional job of running the wires. Then you're talking about maybe having to drill holes and shit. You know, I wouldn't want to do it. So just something to think about. The other second thing I was just going to talk about real quick in this video is kind of the logistics of having a dog on the road with you. You know, I've had this one on the road. She's sleeping in the back right now because we went for a run and she's fucking tired now. But just a couple quick things that, you know, I've just kind of figured out, you know, in the last few days of having a dog on the road. Let's see here. Take this off and I can show you guys at least kind of what I got set up. All right, so I don't know if you can see this. This is the food bowl, right? Now this is actually a travel bowl that well, I don't know where they sell it, but I told my mom when I was at the house I needed to pick one up, and she's like, "Oh, I got one. I could pick up another one." The sides are actually flexible, right? See, like that. So if you're walking, I'm gonna try to angle the camera. So if you're walking and you like put your foot on it, you know, you're not gonna tip it over. You know what I mean? Because there's not a lot of floor space down here. You know what I mean? So, you know, if you're walking around and you put your foot down on it, you know, I don't know how many of you have dogs and have ever stepped on the edge of the bowl and it catapults dog food all over the fucking place. Well, with this bowl, you don't have to deal with that because it's flexible, right? And it's all rubber too, so it doesn't slide anywhere, you know what I mean? And the other thing that I would really recommend you get, I know Petco sells this. It's a spill-proof dog bowl, right? So when you're driving, see the water sloshing around? When you're driving and the truck's shaking all over the place, the water stays inside the bowl, right? Super cool, you know? I mean, even if you knock it over, there'll be a little bit of water spilt, but not the whole bowl. Absolutely mandatory to have. And it's also, you know, the way the plastic on the bottom is designed, it'll also keep it from sliding around on the plate. I would not recommend, if you bring a dog on a truck or whatever, do not bring the regular food bowls that you have at the house, like the shiny little chrome ones. Like, you know, she actually had a feeder and a waterer that had like tanks on the back that as she would eat, more food would fall down. And the same thing for the water. There was a jug and she would drink the water, more water would come down. And I would love to have those, but they just don't make sense on a truck. It's just because they'd be falling over and it would be a big fucking mess. So as far as mess is concerned, you know, this is the way to do it. Now, you know, she's a 50-pound dog, so she drinks a lot of fucking water. Like, I mean a lot. So you gotta keep your eye on that, you know. I mean, she doesn't eat a whole lot of food, but she drinks water all damn day. So you gotta make sure that she's got plenty of water. And the way I deal with that is this. I bought a jug of water at a truck stop, right? It's one of these jugs, like a 3-liter bottle. You know, for a couple of dollars, and I just pour that in there. But once the bottle's empty, when you go to a truck stop to fuel up, they have water spigots there a lot of the time to they use them to fill up their the windshield washer buckets to clean windshields. Just stick that thing up to the water spigot and fill it back up, free water. So, you know, every time I empty that jug into, you know, to give her plenty of water, I just fill it back up at the truck stop, you know. So there's another thing. But you know, it's just a couple of the things I've figured out. You know, it's a little system that I've been working out that works real good. You know, I keep her water back there behind that seat, and I keep her food behind this seat. And really, they're out of the way. I haven't stepped on them one time, you know. So luckily, I got that second bunk up there, so I actually have a container of dog food up there. That's another thing I'd probably recommend anybody else that's a dog owner. If you get a bag of dog food, as soon as you open that bag, you get this real strong aroma of dog food. It's kind of powerful, honestly. So I would get some kind of plastic container to keep that dog food in. It doesn't have to be airtight, obviously, but some kind of, you know, Tupperware thing, like Rubbermaid, you know what I mean, from Walmart, to keep it in with a lid, so that the whole truck doesn't smell like dog food, you know, because every time I open that thing, it's just like, whoa, dog food smell, you know. So I'd recommend that. I actually, another thing, I guess you see that pink leash up there. Yeah, she has a pink leash because she's a girl. But I have several different leashes. I have the retractable one for when we want to go on walks and she wants to smell the entire world. So we have that one. But I keep that pink one up there that stays tied to that handle. And that's in case I have the doors open and I'm doing different stuff, or I'm putting groceries in, or I'm cleaning out the floor. I'll tie her to that so she doesn't go jumping out the side of the truck, you know. She hasn't tried to yet because she kind of realizes it's so high off the ground, luckily, you know. But, you know, she's done some ballsy stuff in the past. You know, I don't know if I put it in a video. I don't think I did. But she actually, like, a couple months ago, she saw something or heard something outside in our backyard, and she just jumped through the fucking living room window. Just straight through the window. Just smashed the fucking thing to bits. Fucked her legs up, cost me about $1,100 in surgical. She had to go to fucking emergency surgery, cost me about $1,100 vet bill. She was like, oh shit, something's outside, and she dove through the window. So, you know, anybody who thinks I don't love my dog, there's proof alone is my $1,100 vet bill I had to spend, you know, because she had fucking gashes in her legs and stuff like that. So that's how much I love this animal, you know. But I don't know if you could, she's asleep back there on the bunk. That's what she does. She just sleeps all the time. Before we stop, you know, we go for a walk, come back, she eats, drinks, knocks the fuck out, you know. So hey, it's cool with me. You know, she's not at the window like, let's go outside and stuff. So, you know, it's pretty mellow. She's been a decent road dog so far. She gets a little nervous sometimes, but day by day she's getting better. She's getting more used to it. But that's two of the things I want to talk about. I'm sure I'll talk more about having a dog on the truck later on. But those are just two basic fucking tips. If you got a dog and you're gonna bring a dog on a truck, I recommend the shit out of those two types of bowls. I really do. No matter what kind of size dog you got. I mean, you're not gonna have a massive, like a Great Dane on the truck, I would imagine. But even a little dog, you know, you could use the same thing. You know, it just keeps, you know, keeps the mess down. Well, that's all I got for now. We'll talk to you guys very soon.